Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today, I really just wanted to talk about split testing angles in your cold email outbound campaign. Why, in the first place, you should do that, why it's important, and how to do it effectively so that you just don't split test and test a bunch of random things. In the first place, I came up with this video idea because in the past few months, I've been speaking to many B2B companies and many growth leaders at those B2B companies. And the common pattern I'm seeing across all of those companies, all of those people, is that some of them say that they've tried to do cold outbound email, but it hasn't really worked for them. And so then I come in and I look at their campaigns and what they sent when it comes to emails. And I see that they've sent only 100 emails, 200 emails, tested zero angles, or maybe just one variation of the copy. That same copy sent to 100 people, 200 people, right? And so I'm really not surprised why they haven't gotten significant results. And truth is that you really can't expect to get significant results if you've never tried cold email. You really can't expect to get significant results by just sending, a couple hundred emails. So now, why you should split test angles in your cold email campaign? I think there are two instances here. One, you don't need to, and two, if you are the second type of company, you absolutely need to constantly split test angles when it comes to cold email. Now, roughly only 1% of the companies, of B2B companies, fall into the first category of not having to actually split test angles in their cold email campaigns. And 99% of those companies actually do need to do so. And so the only instance where you don't need to split test angles in your cold email campaign is if you know exactly who you sell to, you know exactly who your ideal client profile is, you know exactly what resonates well with them, you know exactly the perfect angle, the perfect script that works the best for those people that you sell to. You know exactly what works well for them via cold outbound email, right? Because a thing is, if you know what angle works on LinkedIn with those people to sell to those people, but something else might work better via cold email, or the same thing might not work as well via cold email, and so on. So if you are that type of company, I would say so you're 100% certain over everything you're doing, over who your ideal client profile is and what works best for them for cold email, then I wouldn't say you really need to split test angles because you know exactly what works, right? You can just scale it and get the most amount of leads possible. If you are instead the other 99% of the companies, then you absolutely need to split test angles in your cold email campaign. And today I'm going to go through exactly how you can do that, my method to do that, and I'm going to go over an example as well. So now you can see here, we've got a cold email campaign here. And in the first thing that you want to do is if you've never run cold emails before, you create this cold email campaign, you scrape a few thousand leads, depending on how many angles you want to test in the first place, and you allocate 1,000 leads to each of those angles, right? So for example, here we've got 5 angles, we're gonna scrape 5,000 leads, and we're gonna allocate 1,000 to each of those angles right here. Now, in the first place, if you've never split tested anything, if you've never run cold emails before, I would recommend you to split test the pain point or the problem that you're leveraging in your email script. So, for example, if you are an agency selling to e-commerce brands, you could split test the following different angles when it comes to the pain point. So, some e-commerce brands might have a high cost per acquisition. Some other ones might be struggling with a low lifetime value. Some other e-commerce brands might be struggling with a low return on ad spend, and so on. You know, there are many problems that you can come up with, and you know your target market, so you can come up with those different problems and different pain points and split test them to see what actually resonates better with your target market. So you create one angle for one different pain point for each of those different pain points. And the important thing is that whenever you are split testing a variable, in this case is the pain point or the problem that you're leveraging, you want to only split test that variable at this one variable at the same time. So those angles are going to be the same script, the same copy. The only difference is in the pain point that you're leveraging. So everything else is going to be the same. It's going to be, the script is going to look exactly the same. The only difference is going to be the pain point in this case. Now, after you've sent 1,000 emails, so after you've sent each angle to 1,000 prospects, you do an audit of the campaign and you see, okay, which angle worked best, which angle didn't work really well, and you do kind of an audit of the campaign and see what actually works well with your target market. So, for example, let's say that once you've sent to 5,000 leads, you do an audit and see, okay, angle 5 didn't work, angle 4 didn't really work, didn't get any positive replies, angle 3 didn't work as well, angle 2 maybe it got 2 to 3 positive replies. Now these numbers are arbitrary, so don't rely on those numbers. These numbers in terms of positive replies, 2 to 3 out of 1,000 leads, these really depend on your offer, on your target market, on your product market fit, and on the saturation, on the competition, the saturation of the target market you are in. For example, if you're selling Facebook ads to e-commerce brands, those positive replies will be lower compared to if you're selling a unique offer to a very unique target market, a blue ocean market that has never heard of your offer. So just don't rely on those exact numbers. Now, say you got 2 to 3 positive replies for 1,000 leads, which is not the best. So this angle is not a winner, I would say, but it's not even a bad one. It's not even a bad performing angle. So what you can do here and considering that this angle also worked better than angle number 2. Let's focus on angle number 1. Say 2, sorry. Say you get 2 to 3 positive replies. You might be wanting to scale this angle because you're not certain if that angle can get more positive replies or fewer. So let's say you add another 1,000 leads to it, and then you see how the other 1,000 leads reacted to the same angle, and maybe you get 4 to 5 positive replies out of 2,000 leads. Now, if this is a satisfying rate, I would say, to you, you can scale this angle. So by doing this, you know that if you send to 2,000 prospects, you're going to get 5 positive replies, let's say. So that means one positive reply out of 400 prospects contacted, right? So by doing this, you easily do the math, and if you want to scale this angle to the entire TAM, which by the way, I don't really recommend, you can get an understanding of how many positive replies you're going to get, and by having understanding also by knowing what your percentage of the positive replies that you convert into a meeting, into a sales call, then you're going to do the math and see how many sales calls you're going to possibly get out of that target market, out of that total addressable market. So for example, let's say that you have a total addressable market of 4,000 people. You can understand here that you're going to get 10 positive replies out of those 4,000 people, and say that you convert 50% into calls, so positive reply to calls booked is 50%, then you know that out of that total addressable market, you're going to get 5 calls, realistically. However, this is not the approach that I would really recommend you, because there might be another angle. In this case, we'll pick, for instance, angle number 1 that has worked better. Okay, so let's say that this angle has worked better and has gotten you 5 to 10 positive replies. Now, you know that out of those 5 angles, angle number 1 is the best performing one. So you're going to scale that angle by split testing another variable. So what I mean by this is that once you split test the pain point, so the problem you're leveraging, you know the problem that works better for the target market, that is most resonating with your target market, you know what they resonate most with. Now you're going to test another variable, which in this case might be the offer. So really the way I would advise you to split test the angles and the variables is First of all, the most important ones, which are pain point, offer, positioning, call to action, and then you can split test other variables such as like the first line, which is not that important in my opinion, or the openers, the first line, or the PS line, or even the signature, but those are not really that important. So once you know which pain point works best, you're going to split test the offer in this case. Now you create another four different angles, or you can do more, you can do fewer. I don't really have a set number you can use for this. Just come up with different ways of positioning the offer and different offers that you can leverage with that target market. And make sure not to change the targeting, of course, because everything else must be the same when you're split testing things. So you're going to come up with four different offers, and you're going to write four different scripts. Again, here, the script, the copy must be the same. The only difference is going to be in the offer that you're leveraging in the copy, in the copy of your email. So again, you're going to scrape 4,000 leads, and you're going to allocate 1,000 leads to each of those angles, right? And you do essentially the same thing. Once you've sent another 4,000 emails to those 4,000 people, then you're going to see, okay, this angle didn't work well. This angle with this offer didn't work well. This angle, yeah, might have gotten some positive replies, but not the best in the world. This angle instead got many positive replies out of all of those angles. I'm going to explain you how you can evaluate if an angle worked well compared to the other ones in just a few minutes. Let's say that this angle, angle number 4, offer number 4, worked well and got you many positive replies. Now, essentially do the same process. So you scrape another 3,000 leads according to, again, how many angles you want to test for the next variable, and say that you want to split test the call to action next. Split test the call to action, again, allocate 1,000 leads to each of those angles. In this case, it's going to be 3,000 total, and you test each of those again. Just a different variable that you split test, you know the pain point that has worked the best and the offer that has worked the best. Now you just have to split test more variables to get to essentially the perfect script, the perfect email script. And essentially this process works exactly like this. So it's essentially an unlimited graph that we could do here. You could split test as many variables as you like. I would say the most important ones, again, are pain point or problem you're leveraging, offer or positioning of the offer, call to action, and then really just the email structure overall. I wouldn't recommend you to split as a subject line. That really doesn't matter that much. We're going to see many cool email gurus that will essentially tell you to only split as the subject line in the first place. I would say that's correct because honestly, you could get a slight difference in the open rate if you test a different subject line compared to another one, but it doesn't really matter if you have the opportunity to get 2x, 3x the bookings and the leads out of one angle compared to other angles that you're split testing. So for example, angle number 5 here got 0 positive replies. Angle number 4, for example, got 1 positive reply. Angle number 1 got 5 positive replies. This is 5x angle number 4. This difference in the results cannot really be seen when you're split testing subject line. Like a subject line is not going to get 10% and another in the same campaign is going to get 50%. It's not really how it works. So that's why, in my opinion, those variables, pain point, offer, and CTA are the most important ones. Now let's go over an example here. This is a campaign, as you can see, we've tested many variants here. And after around 45 days of running this campaign, essentially we were only, the only variants that were active were like five of them. And the other ones were all paused. And this is exactly what happens when you're split testing angles like this, using this process. So this is what you see. This is a performance breakdown of the campaign that you see in Smartly.ai, which is the cold email software that I recommend you if you want to start sending cold emails. This is the breakdown of the results that you get in the campaign on Smartly. And so you can see the reply rate here of each of those angles. You can see the positive reply rate here. And why this matters is when you have to evaluate if an angle worked well or didn't really work well. So criteria to define a winner angle. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there are no fixed KPIs. There are no fixed numbers that you should aim for in terms of positive replies that you want to get out of 1,000 leads, for example. I wouldn't recommend you to set a fixed number based on what other people are seeing, based on performance of other offers, other people, because it's not going to be reliable. It really depends. The average number of positive replies that you get out of, say, 1,000 people really depends on the industry, on your offer, on your target market, but mainly and most importantly, your product market fit. So when it comes to evaluating if an angle worked well or not really, you want to test different angles before even evaluating. You want to test different angles and want to find the average of the positive replies that you got out of all the angles. Now, keep in mind that the overall campaign reply rate should not be lower than 1%. And the reason why this should not be lower than 1%, this is not the overall campaign reply rate. This is the angles reply rate. When it comes to the overall campaign reply rate, I mean, this number right here that you see when you go to the campaign on SmartLead, it should not be lower than 1% because if you're getting less than 1% of your emails replied, then there must be something else that's wrong. Most likely, it's going to be deliverability. It's going to be a deliverability issue. And so you want to fix that issue first before you go split test other angles that you think are not working well, but it's actually a deliverability problem. So if you're getting a lower reply rate than 1%, go fix deliverability. Set up new accounts or run deliverability tests on the accounts and domains that you bought. Make sure you're not in the how are they called? In the block lists or make sure you're not blacklisted. Your domains are not blacklisted, and make sure that you are actually landing in the primary inbox and not spam. So if you're getting higher than 1% reply rate, then you can actually evaluate angles and seeing which angles work best. Now to do that, you want to not keep in mind, just not consider, don't consider the reply rate only or the positive reply rate only. You want to consider email sent over positive replies. So subdivide the email sent by the positive replies, and you will get a number, and you want it to be as low as possible. This is an example. This is the same campaign over here. And you can see here, we have emails sent over positive replies. In this case, 530 divided by 3. That's 177 roughly. The second angle, the same thing is 75. And the third angle is 132. Now, this number must be as low as possible. So in this case, what I would do here, if I would have to evaluate this campaign and the angles, I would pick this one, the angle number 2, because that's the lowest email sent to positive replies ratio. And I would scale this angle by essentially going over this method right here. And so creating different angles and testing another variable while scaling the same angle that has worked best. Essentially here, you want to split test angles until you find a winner angle that gets you unlimited leads out of your total addressable market, which is essentially impossible. So that's why I recommend you to always keep split testing things, even if you found an angle that is working extremely well. So essentially, here what you want to do is once a week, twice a week, or once a month, depending on how large your total addressable market is, depending on how many emails you're sending, especially. This mostly depends on the volume that you're sending. You want to sit there and look at your campaigns, do this math, so calculate this ratio and find the angle that's worked the best. Then you scale it with other variables. In the meantime, you're scaling it. You test other variables, and then repeat the same process. Once a week, twice a week, once a month, I don't care. Really depends on how many emails you're sending. So that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that you found some value in this video. Um, if you liked it, feel free to subscribe to this channel for more of this free content, and I hope to see you in the next video.